So guys, we have Unit 11 class, which will be about knowledge and learning. Therefore, I will provide you with some information about the objectives that we have to check. First of all, we will watch a video in regards about this museum that it's really interesting, by the way. Located in Indianapolis in the USA. It's a really interesting museum. Later on, we have to check some vocabulary concerning to knowledge and learning. We will listen to an audio, and finally, we will start with a unit. In the section that also will be our concerning, we have to check some vocabulary about education, and I will test your knowledge. So after that, we finish with the innovation in learning, and we have some questions to answer. Finally, just to wrap up the class, we have to check the grammar that today will be about could, was able to, managed to, and succeed in. And therefore, guys, let's start our class with a code. As you can see here, guys, we have the knowledge and learning unit. And to start with the whole unit, we have the Children's Museum of Indianapolis in the USA. As you can take a look over, we have dinosaurs outside. There's this big building. Therefore, let's watch a video. And at the end, you will have to answer one question. Let's start by displaying this video right here. And at the end, you will have to comment about this video. Remember that the question will be about the whole museum. So make sure that you pay attention about something that really strikes your attention. Therefore, let's start by displaying this video. There we go.
The world's largest children's museum is right here in Indianapolis. Not only are we the largest, we think we're the best, but it is enormous. Our campus is almost 500,000 square feet. We have 5 levels of indoor experiences, and we have 7.5 acres outdoors.
The Children's Museum of Indianapolis is the major leagues of children's museums. It is by far the biggest, the baddest, the best.
There's very few institutions in the world like the Children's Museum of Indianapolis that are so deeply committed to telling meaningful, influential, inspiring stories. So being a part of that group, being part of a team that has that kind of creative horsepower, has that kind of commitment, it's just an opportunity you don't get every day. So we're working on Nobel Peace Prize winners, we're working on dinosaurs, whatever it is, we know that experience is going to be world class.
We're standing in the Power of Children, Making a Difference, and it opened in 2007 featuring Anne Frank, Ruby Bridges, and Ryan White as 3 children who left an incredible legacy. Each of them faced racism, discrimination, are kids that really did change the world in some way, and we looked in the last few years to a 4th story. After a lot of research and conversations, we knew the answer had to be Malala Yousafzai.
And she is absolutely incredible. Nobel Peace Prize winner. She went through incredibly traumatic events with the Taliban in her home in Pakistan. She's an advocate for girls' education and has been all her life from the very beginning. And so the opportunity to tell her story was unbelievable. We worked directly with Malala's family, had the chance to interact with her father and with her family foundation, and Malala herself was a part of approving this experience, the first of its kind, the first permanent exhibit in the world focused on Malala's story.
We started writing the script at the Children's Museum a few years ago to be able to put it in front of some focus groups.
There is a significant challenge inherent in Malala's story, and it's the fact that she was shot by the Taliban. It is a touchy subject. I mean, it's a dynamic where you want kids to understand the reality of what she faced because it gives context to why her story is so important. And so they didn't want to leave those pieces off the table. Wanted to make sure that we covered the realness of her story, but in a way that kids wouldn't be scared or be nervous. We had to end on a note of inspiration. The museum team already had a vision for what they wanted for the story. They came to us with an initial script. They even had some storyboards, initial animatic. So they had a beautiful vision for what this piece needed to be. But they came to us in a very collaborative sense to help contribute and decide, well, how are we going to bring this thing truly to life? We went through the process starting at the very beginning and saying, what do we want people to feel? What do we want them to see, hear, and experience overall? One of the key factors in that was creating an overall experience matrix that was a document that we could contribute to collaboratively. So every line was in reference to some piece of the overall show. It was, what are we seeing in the visuals? What are we hearing in the sound? What's happening in the light show? What's happening in the atmosphere surrounding it? What's the mood and tone that we want to have, from color scripts all the way through to the final music and product and composition and sound design. Another big challenge for all of this is that we did it all virtually. We didn't have a chance to meet our clients until it was all complete. This happened during the pandemic, and that created some really interesting dynamics in trying to review the work as we went along. We worked within 3D models. We did a lot of previs. We did a lot of animations in advance of doing the final animations, just so that we could communicate intent throughout the process so that the team felt confident in what the solution was going to be.
Because of the legwork that Dimensional Innovations did to ask questions, understand, take feedback, that's why we chose to work with them again.
The experience of working on Malala with the museum team was so incredibly gratifying, and luckily, another one came right up, and we had the chance to work on dinosaurs.
We had a lot of lessons learned as far as how to organize content, how to organize material with a lot of eyeballs. Producers, animators, writers, paleontologists, marketing. It takes a lot of organization and a lot of focus to not drop any eggs, no pun intended for dinosaurs.
Talking about these scientific specimens and relaying information, we knew that there were a lot of stories we could tell, but we settled on the question, how did these dinosaurs get so big? The overall message of Dinosphere is fossils are clues that tell us about dinosaurs. So in this case, we're like, how can these fossils tell us about how big these dinosaurs got? So the whole scene we've created is this herd of sauropods walking through a dry riverbed, because we're in this ramp area too, so it just lends itself to that. So we've created these huge murals around us that depict the forest around it, and you see this vast open floodplain on the other side of the dinosaurs. We worked really closely with the Dimensional Innovations team to figure out how to make that the most powerful and succinct and visually stunning piece that really wrapped around the visitors. Our team had come up with that script. We knew those points that we wanted to hit. We had our team of paleontologists, make sure that we were getting that science correct, but then bringing in that extension of Dimensional Innovations was really integral to thinking about how we were really going to make this happen. We knew what we wanted to say, but we weren't sure how that was really going to be possible on this landscape.
We actually developed 2 shows. The more scientific show is all fun for the paleontologist and the more discerning dinosaur fan. But we also developed a second show, which is called the Interpreter Show. A little more fun, a little more interactive, but that show was a very different tone, which had an actor, an interpreter, would be up on stage and behind the dinosaurs, in front of the screen, kind of interacting with the audience.
It's really, really cool. It really sort of changes our work. We have been sort of coming to a more highly technical interpretive experiences over the last 4 or 5 years, and this Sound and Light show, as well as the one in Malala, really represent a kind of new breed of programming. And so in Malala, it gives us the chance to have an emotional impact that we're not really able to reach with just the actor. The ability to hear Malala's voice, to see footage from her life, gives that this completely different emotional impact on the visitor. And in a different way, this does the same thing. We're able to have a paleontologist in training go back in time and have a conversation with one of the world's famous paleontologists from the 1800s.
One thing that we were really excited to be able to do with this particular show is enhance the captioning and interpretation. We incorporated an ASL interpreter visual into this, in addition to the open captioning that exists in the rest of our work, and to work through what that looked like with Dimensional Innovations to make sure that we were meeting the needs of those visitors just made this much richer.
I remember when I was entering the process, I was a little unsure of exactly what DI was capable of, and going on that journey and them sort of hearing what we were wanting to accomplish, and then they would say, oh cool, here's these different options, here's these different ways you can accomplish it. And as we were moving through the process, we sort of got to the end of that, and it was just this ability to kind of really work and frame this kind of path together. So it really was a partnership that kind of get to the goals and dreams that we wanted for our visitors. It was a great process.
So once that we were done with the exercise, we have to keep going with some vocabulary. Let's start by displaying the following code. You will see it on the chat box. Make sure to join it because we will practice some vocabulary. Oh, sorry. Let's start. First question. So what does it mean to acquire a new skill? We have 4 different options. To gain or develop a new ability or expertise, remain stagnant in one's ability, to forget an old skill, or to lose interest in learning. To gain or develop a new ability or expertise. Yep, correct answer, 9 people. To remain stagnant in one's ability, that is just one part of it. To forget an old skill, no. Correct answer, to gain or develop a new ability or expertise. Question number 2. Can you provide an example of being unaware of a fact? Yes, for example, I was unaware that the store closed early on Sundays. Help me with the pronunciation of this word, unaware. Can you say unaware?
Unaware.
Unaware. Great. Let's see, the next question will be number 3. How can someone get the meaning of something they are unfamiliar with? If we don't know a word, what do we have to do? Ignore it and move on without understanding? Guess the meaning based on the sound of the word. Of the word. Ask a friend who also doesn't know the meaning, or look it up in a dictionary, or use an online search engine. Okay, pretty good. Fast. That was easy. Yep, exactly. So how can someone get the meaning of something they are unfamiliar? In this case, we have look it up in a dictionary or use an online search engine. Great. Yeah, such as Google, Brave, anything that's useful as a browser. How would you define the term inspire in your own words? To feel someone with the urge of ability to do or feel something, to prevent someone from achieving their goals, to make someone feel bored, to discourage someone from doing something. Okay, time's over. Yep, to feel someone with the urge or ability to do something, especially to do something creative. Good. Question, final question. Give an example of taking a lot of information. Exactly, we have reading a comprehensive book on a specific topic. Great. Let's finish this section. Let's see the results. So guys, now that we get back, let's get into the topic of knowledge and learning. We have to share a picture. You will share a picture or icon symbolizing a subject or class that spark your curiosity or passion in school, and explain what about it inspired you. Right, so Alida said that you might study dentistry. Therefore, that is something amazing that I saw over here, that yes, it's improved the way that people looks, and this will improve their self-esteem and security. That's something pretty great. Harold, chemistry is an interesting subject with particles that cannot be seen. I'm very interested. That's great. Now, guys, let's move on with the following part. Let's put into practice with those words. The ones that we learn here, like acquire, be unaware, get, inspire, and take in. Let's mix them with a context about this museum. We will listen to a mother and a child. They're having a visit throughout the museum. Let's listen and let's find out what do they talk about.
I love this museum. We went to Indianapolis specially to visit it because we'd heard such great things about it. My kids, who are 7 and 9, love the interactive display of dinosaurs. They could really engage with it. My husband and I learned a lot too. There was a whole section on Asia, part of the Take Me There section on foreign cultures. It had so many things I was completely unaware of, like Chinese herbal medicine. The other thing I really liked was the Children Making a Difference section. It included stories of children who had difficult childhoods but have succeeded, like kids who faced prejudice or discrimination. Their stories really inspired me. I'm definitely going to take my kids back to this museum when they're old enough to really get these stories. I think the mixture of visual displays, hands-on stuff, and real-life stories is a great way to acquire knowledge. I guess if I have any criticism of the museum, it's that it's too big. There's too much to take in.
There we go, guys. Now, part 11A, vocabulary about education. Let's get into Nearpod, and I will test your knowledge. Let's do a pre-test. Okay, so we have some questions. Question number 1. Which phrase completes the sentence correctly? Learning by heart or from experience is the best way to learn your multiplication tables. Okay, so we have by heart or from experience. So we have learning by heart or from experience is the best way to learn our multiplication tables. What do you think, guys? By heart or from experience?
By heart.
By heart. Pretty good. So in this case, of course, this will be by heart, because when you read something by heart, as you can check the image, in this case, you learn it, you acquire it. So you learn it deeply. It's an expression used to say that if you learn something by heart, you really understand it. Let's continue. Number 2. Harold, can you help me with question number 2?
Study coming for your exam is not a good idea. Training to remember lots of information at the last moment doesn't help you remember things in the long term.
So what do you think, guys? Studying or cramming?
Study or cramming?
What do you think, guys, for the whole people? What do you think? Option A or option B? Studying or cramming?
Maybe cramming, teacher.
Cramming, let's see. Correct. So in this case, we have cramming, and the root word will be cram. So let's learn, first of all, the pronunciation.
Cram.
Can you say cram?
Cram. Cram.
Cram. Everybody, it's your turn. Can you open up your microphones?
Cram.
Everybody, can you help me? Pablo, Alida, Ambar, do I have the rest also right here? You lady, David, can you help me with the pronunciation of this word? Great. So we have cram. This will be to force a lot of things into a small space. So to cram things, in this case, cram is going to be to put a lot of information on or like knowledge, to acquire a lot, to try to study a lot. In this case, so cramming will be putting a lot of information. Is for your exam is not a good idea. Trying to remember lots of information at the last moment doesn't help you remember things in the long term. Number 3, can you help me? Will be Alida.
He turned up from dropped out of high school when he was 16 and started working full-time in state.
So we have he turned up for. First of all, help me with the pronunciation. Everybody, turned up for. Turn up for.
Turn up for.
Okay, all the people from the course, please, I will need turn up for.
Turn up.
Turn up for. Great. The next word will be drop out. Can you say drop out?
Drop out.
Drop out. So in this case, what do you think will be the correct answer? Turn up for or drop out?
Turn up for.
Turn up or drop out.
Yeah, you have to choose one. You have to choose. You have to choose.
A.
Option A, incorrect.
Yes.
So in this case, option A wouldn't be the correct one. Wouldn't work. The correct answer will be drop out. So I will explain you why. And it's good to make mistakes so we can learn from them. Let's see here. So drop out, such as the image, as you can take a look over, we have a tiny comic, so you will understand this part much better. In this section, I would like to see it. We have, sure, we lose some, but whose content? And right here, I don't know if you can see, it's not pretty clear, but the image says like dropout, I think it's machine or factory, I think it's called. Dropout factory. So as you know, it exists like being a dropout will be when you cannot continue with your studies, when you leave the university, you choose another life path, so you drop out of college. So that's dropout. So he dropped out of high school when he was 16 and started working full-time instead. Okay, so we have the word dropout. Pretty good. Let's keep going. Can you help me, Amber, with question number 4?
At the school, I acquired a lot of, but not many life skills and academic knowledge.
Academic knowledge or practical experience. In this case, of course, will be academic knowledge. So that's a pretty good word. Just with the word knowledge, everybody, can you help me with the word knowledge? Try to open up your microphone. So knowledge.
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 But not many life skills. That's good. Question, number 5. Finally, number 5. Let's see here. Mateo, you will be the final one.
I always got in English because I read a lot of English books.
Notes or grades? Grades. That's the correct answer. This will be grades. Remember, when you get your grades, you are getting your marks. But when you make notes is when you take a pen, paper, and you will start to write. Okay, so those are notes. The notes that you make online, the notes that you make on your notebook. Let's continue with this following section. Once that we finish with this, now let's get into some vocabulary concerning to education. As you can check here before we get into the reading, we have the vocabulary education. So I will give you a code. Make sure that you get there because we will learn some vocabulary related to education. So once that we finish with the vocabulary about education, now let's listen to this innovation in learning. Let's get into some listening and reading at the same time. Let's pay attention.
It is a question that has troubled educators for centuries. How do they ensure that students don't just turn up to school to pass exams, but that they are truly engaged in their learning? The Lumiar International School in Sao Paulo, Brazil, may have found the answer. The founder of the school is Ricardo Semler, a businessman who developed a management style in which employees were trusted to do their jobs and make their own decisions. They were even able to set their own working hours and salaries. Semler managed to make this approach work in his own company, increasing sales from $4 million to $212 million in 20 years. Lumiar is a school unlike any other. Pupils occupy spaces rather than rooms, and learning takes place everywhere, in play areas, the hall, the dining room. If pupils do not feel engaged in a lesson, they can go to another one or to the library to read. Most learning is done through projects that pupils design with their fellow students and teachers. Teachers are more like subject experts than traditional teachers. On the day I visited, I attended a weekly meeting where all pupils could discuss issues affecting school life. The meeting was an opportunity for students to raise concerns, but also an occasion when they were able to practice important life skills like debating and collaboration. The problem they succeeded in solving that day concerned some plates that two of the pupils had broken while running in the kitchen. Punishment was not the issue. The question was how to prevent this from happening again. Someone suggested a no running in school rule. Then another boy spoke up. What if the school pays, but the boys themselves have to go and find the same china in the shops? I was amazed. This boy was only 6 years old, but he had managed to come up with an excellent solution to a difficult problem.
Okay, really interesting. So guys, we have to keep going after we finish with the innovation in learning section. We have to keep going with the grammar explanation. In this case, we will have the could was able to, manage to, and succeeded in. In this case, you have some info right here in the models of ability. So as you could check here in the reading and after you have that speaking section, we have the models of ability in the past tense. So let's see what can we encounter in the models of ability. First of all, let's start with could. So what do we understand by this section? We use could to talk about a general ability in the past. When do we use could? He could swim when you have an ability to do something, but in the past. He couldn't in negative. He couldn't find the herbal medicine he was looking for. I could speak Chinese when I was a kid. Now, let's divide this section in three main areas, which is the form. You have affirmative, negative, and question forms. So in the affirmative section, I could run 10 miles in my 20s. You have this ability in the past. Susan could read before she started school. So you have the use of could as an ability in the past. You have the negative form. I couldn't speak, could be any language indeed. I couldn't speak Chinese when I was a kid. The burglar couldn't get in through the window. And the question form, could you speak English 2 years ago? Could you read before you started school? So you have three main forms, affirmative, negative, and the question form. What we have to practice also will be the intonation. When you have the intonation also, you use the language in order to convey what are you asking for, or if you are affirming or negating something. Let's keep going with this following part. So we have the form of the use of could. In this sense, we have the following part will be about the use of was or were able to plus a base form. We use was, were able to plus a base form to talk about the ability in the past. It is more formal, such as she was able to find the quickest route immediately, or they weren't able to finish the journey. Also, we have three parts dividing the form: affirmative, negative, and questions. The burglar wasn't able to get in through the bathroom window. Affirmative. We were able to dance on the street every day. You were able to do something. Negative. I wasn't able to cook pizza. They weren't able to get a job as singers. Questions. Were you able to cook pizza? Was she able to speak in front of the audience? Was or were able to plus the base form. Remember, now we have managed to plus the base form. So we use managed to plus base form to talk about ability to do something very difficult. We use this modal verb only with people or living things. For example, he finally managed to publish his book. They didn't manage to upload the information on time. So you have managed to plus the base form of the verb. By the way, here also, the form, affirmative. The burglar finally managed to get in through the bathroom window. The stores in Memphis are very good, and I managed to spend all the money that I had with me. Negative. Peter didn't manage to finish the test on time. My classmates didn't manage to recover that bad grade. Question. Did she manage to get that scholarship in the end? Did you manage to gather your whole family last night? You have different forms. A reminder, we often use the expressions such as finally and in the end to emphasize that the activity was an effort. Let's keep going. We have succeed in plus a verb in brackets ing. So we succeed in verb plus ing to show the result or the effect that was intended. We often use expressions such as finally and in the end to emphasize the activity was an effort. In the end, I succeeded in becoming a doctor. Finally, I succeeded in becoming a doctor. So you can just change it to show that it was an effort to accomplish something. We're almost done. We have the form in this case. He succeeded in getting a place at our school. Peter succeeded in being hired at the language center. Negative. I didn't succeed in learning to drive. She didn't succeed in getting the job. Question. Did she succeeded in getting that scholarship in the end? Did you succeed in gathering your whole family last night? Okay, so you have different forms in this case. But right now, once that we understand this section, this will be recorded so you can just keep watching it. And we have the practice right now. Let me pause it.